All right, today we're down in Weatherford, Texas, and I'm here with Clay Brown and Douglas Rich. Douglas, we literally got here 10 minutes ago, and so this is all shooting from the hip. I don't know much about him, so a lot of this I'm going to get to hear for the first time myself too. But I know Clay told me that you're a two-time NFR qualifier, and then what about the Regatta Buckle?
I have to think. I think they've been having it 3 years. And the first, does that sound right?
I think so.
First year, me and Jake won second. The second year, we won it. And then last year, we won second again.
Okay. All right.
So we love the Regatta Buckle.
You love that?
Yeah.
And that seems to be growing quite a bit. Yeah. You guys will have to forgive us for the background noise. We are authentic. We have horses squealing in the background and everything else. And remodeling.
Yep.
Remodeling in the house. So there's plenty going on. So, Doug, I want to take it back to the beginning. I don't know anything about you. I've heard you're from back east, right?
Illinois.
Let's go back to the beginning and where you were born and where it all started.
Yep. I was born in Herrick, Illinois, which is a tiny town, 400 people probably. Grew up there, roped. My dad roped. My grandpa roped. Mom roped. Everybody roped. So that's kind of what I grew up doing. That's all I've ever done. We didn't farm. All our neighbors farmed. A bunch of row crops, corn, soybeans. Dad had a few cows and roped, and that's it. That's all we've ever done.
That's it. So you grew up doing it. Did you guys trade any horses or you started everything from scratch?
We always had a few around there that you could head, heel on mainly. I think Dad started roping calves. I think that's what everybody did when they started roping up there was everybody roped calves. And then they started team roping. And we always had several horses around, a few to trade on, a bunch of colts, try to make them, couldn't really afford to go buy, spend a lot of money on some. So we would get colts and just start them, and if they made it, good. If not, then sell them off and try again. So, but that's it. That's all we did.
And jackpot roped a lot at local jackpots. And this is in Illinois?
Yep.
So how much jackpotting is there up there? I've never been up there, and I don't really associate that with a lot of roping country. So
yep, there's more than a guy would think, which we're not far from St. Louis, kind of southeast Missouri. Had a bunch of ropings over there, like Tim Glasgow and them had an indoor arena. They had an outdoor, and then they built an indoor. And so I would go down there and spend a lot of time in the summers. They had a bunch of horses, always a bunch of outside horses and stuff, and we bought and traded with them quite a bit. Jason Stroop had an indoor arena. He would put on slides, put on ropings, and quite a bit. And Herrick is kind of southern-ish Illinois. So we're a long ways from Chicago, but not far from like St. Louis and stuff down there. So it wasn't too far of a drive. And there's quite a few people that rope up there, really, and a lot of guys rope good.
We go up there and show sometimes at Lake St. Louis, but I've never went over into Illinois at all for anything, so I'm not real familiar with it. I know there's a lot of sorters up there that I hear about. So in high school, did you play sports?
I played basketball till 8th grade.
8th grade.
And then my dad told me, he said, they have tournaments on the weekends. He said, and if you play, he said, you're committed to that team. He said, you got to go. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to miss a roping, and I don't want to have to feel obligated to go to the basketball games when I don't think I have a career playing basketball.
Hold up. Didn't we talk about this basketball one time? Didn't you say you were real good at free throws?
I mean, I am good, but I didn't see a career out of it. I don't see going to NBA or nothing. And so I quit, and they wanted me to play just because we didn't have many kids, but I told them, I said, I can't do it. So in high school, I didn't play any sports. High school rodeoed, that was it.
So you played basketball until 8th grade. Then high school, you're focused on rodeo, and then so you went to college.
I went.
You showed up.
I showed up. Well, sometimes I showed up. Not all the time. I went to the rodeos. That was about it. Yeah. But went to college. Went to Altus, Oklahoma for 2 years, and then I don't have any kind of degree. Not real proud of it. But I wouldn't recommend it. You know, if you're going to go, you might as well go to get the degree and stuff. But went to the college rodeos, I transferred back to Martin, Tennessee, and went there for a couple of years, and then moved out here after that. So
Okay.
I've been here ever since.
Okay. And how long have you been in Weatherford?
Well, when I first moved out here, which would have been in 2018, I think, I lived in Bowie with Jason Ritchie, and then which is Clay Smith's father-in-law.
Okay.
Got hooked up with them. Lived up there for about 6 months, and then met a guy in Jacksboro. Moved over there, lived there all summer. And then when I think Clay was roping with Paul, and when they got back that summer from rodeo, and I went and roped with him a couple of times, ended up moving over there to Millsap, which is probably 30 minutes south of here.
Okay.
And then I lived with him for, 2.5 years probably over there, and roped and got to be real good friends with him, and went to all the ropings around here. And then I'm trying to think when we moved in over here. We bought this place, I think 3 years ago in March it'll be, and we've been here for about 3 years.
Okay. And so you mentioned there you got around some really good people. Okay. Prior to that, like in college and growing up there in Illinois, so what did you do to get better there? Who did you spend some time, watch videos, rope the dummy? Who was your mentors? How did that start?
I would say my dad roped good. Like in the old number system, he was a 6-header.
Okay.
And so which that would be like now it would be equivalent to like an 8-header. And he never rodeoed. He went to all the ropings around there. He wasn't a reacher, but he never missed. And so that's what I guess he taught me a lot about. And he knew he didn't heel great, but he knew how it worked. And he knew what was right and what was wrong to catch and to good horse position and all that. And he taught me a lot about just not beating yourself. About like you have to catch no matter what to win something. If you miss, you're not going to win nothing. And so, and there were some guys around there that roped really good. Roger Behringer, Scott Behringer, they were from Mulberry Grove, which was 45 minutes from us. They had an arena. We would go practice with them. They roped. For that area, back in the day, they were probably some of the top guys. Like I think Roger roped with, I don't want to say this wrong, Tim Hobbs, I think was who he roped with. Mark Hobbs.
Yep.
I didn't know them guys great, but I know they went together, and I think they were the best back in the day up in that area.
The best you had access to. Yeah.
And a lot of videos, like a lot of I went to a couple roping schools when I was in junior high and high school and stuff. We come out here. We come to Hamilton when I was in 8th grade, I think. Went to Tyler Magnus School. And that was good. Other than that, just there was a lot of people up there. The Glasgows, they roped good. There was a guy, George Eldridge. He was from Arkansas. He was dating one of Tim's daughters when I was in high school and stuff. He healed really good. He helped me a bunch. There was just quite a few people along the way that I met and got connections with and helped a lot.
Okay.
So,
And so at that time, what number were you in college?
I think in college, I think in high school, maybe I got to 8 healer. And I think in college, they raised me to a 9. And then I was a 9 when I moved out here. And then maybe a year or so after, I think they raised me, and I got raised and I was a 10.
And you're a 10 healer and a
8-header.
8-header.
Yep.
Okay. So and rope both ends quite well, it sounds like.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I've heard talk of upper end of the switch enders.
I don't know. There's a lot of good guys.
I think
that
the
switch
timed
in.
event proves it.
I like going to the timed event.
Now our buddy Worley, he might argue about it.
Yeah, he's going to put himself at the top.
Yes.
Yeah. So going out of college and filling your permit, so how'd all that transpire, and then what did you do after that?
So when I was in college, I was going to rope with Cody Heflin. And I think we roped, and I think I filled my permit, and then we never really went much after that. I don't even remember the reason why. And so I never really rodeoed until I got down here. And in the first year I lived down here, I roped with Crease Thompson. But he was too young to go to all the pro rodeos, so we went to all the amateur rodeos, all the ropings together, and I got to be really good friends with them. And then maybe the next summer I started roping with Corey Clark, and we went I think Paul entered us everywhere, and we went, and I had no idea what we were doing.
And
we did okay. I don't remember exactly if we did good enough to get in some of the winter rodeos. And I'm trying to think who I roped with after that. Maybe, I think that's about when Clint Summers switched and started heading. And I think we roped the next year, which would have been 2020. And I think we did we did okay. We jackpotted good together. He always has had amazing head horses, and did good at the jackpots, decent at the rodeos, I think. And then I think we did good enough to get in some of the winter rodeos. I'm trying to think who I roped with next. I think I went to some of the winter rodeos in 21 with Charlie Crawford. Went to a few. And then me and Coy started roping that spring right before we left for the summer. And we roped all spring, all summer. And I think that would have been 21.
2021.
Yep.
And then you went to the NFR the last 2 years, is that right? 2020?
21.
21, yeah.
21?
When me and Coy started roping, we made the finals that year. Come down to the last year. We had one rodeo left, Salinas, which was like Puyallup, the tour finale. And won, I think maybe third, like did good in a couple rounds, won third, won 11-some thousand out there, ended up making it that year. And then we roped at the NFR, roped the next year, and then we quit maybe the fall of 22. And that's when I started roping with Kevin Daniel for a little bit. We went to a couple, and then me and Jake started right after that, which would have been when he swapped to heading. And we've been roping ever since. Roped last year and this year. And going to keep roping again next year.
Heck yeah.
So have you ever worked for anybody or anything like that?
I worked for like Jason Ritchie
Okay.
up there. Fed, took care of their horses. But as far as like a real job,
Like roping?
and roped with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Healed for them. They all headed. Healed for them. Kind of just whatever
Okay.
they needed. I was just around there. But as far as like a real job, never had like a real 9 to 5 or nothing like that.
Well, I didn't know if you'd ever worked for any ropers or anything like that, or if you just.
When I moved in with Paul, it was kind of we had he didn't pay me, but I didn't have to pay for the hookup. I stayed in my trailer. I didn't have to pay for the hookup. Didn't have to pay to keep my horses there. It was kind of, we benefited from each other, kind of like he had someone around there and I did whatever I would rope. When I first moved over there, I would run the chutes. I would do whatever because I knew like, hey, I got to get my foot in the door somehow. And so kind of worked for him, but I didn't really see it as that. Like I seen it as I was getting to stay here for free, be around the best guys.
An education.
Is opportunity.
An opportunity, yeah.
Yep.
Because, and I think everybody has to do that. I think you got to get, it don't matter if you go to the best guys in the world's house and run the chute all day for them, or clean their stalls, or do something. Like you're gonna learn something just watching what them guys do.
Yes.
And so that's how I looked at it. And then he was there. I was there. I roped with him every day. We would head for each other. People would come over. Like if he had a header come over, I would maybe run the chutes for him at first, get the heel some for him, and then just do whatever. And that's probably where I got the most, I would say, and got to better. Got to be better, I would say.
Can you break that down a little bit on the most and the better? What that might have been that you picked up? Other than just seeing multiple good runs, kind of dissect it a little bit on what was a changing point right there that you picked up.
Yep. I would say probably a lot of the horsemanship part, like because back home, you train a horse, you get it to where you can ride it. You start roping slow steers. You pattern them pretty much. They're not really that broke, you know what I mean? Like, but they learn to do the job, and you can get by them. And so that's where I had some good horses when I was in high school and stuff that made better rope horses, but weren't broke really. And so there I got to see the side of, hey, if you start with a horse that is really broke, you can go to roping on him immediately. and they take to it better. And there's no holes that come out when you start adding speed and stuff. Like a couple horses I had when I was in high school and stuff, when I first moved down here, they had all the tools to be really good. I wish I had a couple of them back now just to see. I mean, they could have been so good. And they were good, but they would make, I had one horse, called him Snort. He was wild as heck, but he was maybe the fastest horse I've ever rode, and a physical, tough horse. But he would make the hard shots easy, and an easy shot he would make hard. Like you draw a slow steer, he would kind of get in the way. He would get strong. And so that's where, and then I got kind of sold some of them horses, got better horses where I had no idea about the horse part, where how big a role that played. To where when you can back in the box and the only thing you're worried about is roping the feet, it makes it 10 times easier. When you don't got to worry about if your horse is going to work good, or if something happens, like you got to ride perfect to create a better shot for yourself maybe. And so I would say that's where I learned a lot and got a little better. And just, it opened my eyes to where you have a good horse, it makes your job way, way easier.
And consistent.
And consistently, day in, day out.
Yeah. At Paul's, did you get to ride many of his?
I rode quite a few Colts. He has a lot of horses. Always has.
Even, I know for me, like some of the horses that I've got to get on of Jason's, it was like just a light bulb.
Yeah.
Holy cow! If I could get this,
like
if I could get
feel
this
that feel.
This horse never had rope swung on him, but if I can get this feel in a run, oh my gosh, and I know if you got to ride some of Paul's, man, it was like
it's a feel I'd never felt before.
Yes,
you know, like I mean, maybe on a run or two here and there, where you're like, man, that felt easy.
Yes,
but a couple like. And when he got hurt, that horse fell on him at that roping, and he had this problem with his shoulder and all that, I rode everything for a while.
Yeah.
All his good ones, everything, because he couldn't swing a rope. He had surgery and stuff, and it was like, dang.
How did that make you want to go get back on your own?
I was like, dang. I want to get horses that feel like that.
And that's the opportunity that so many people don't see, going and picking stalls or feeding, or when they're gone rodeo and taking care of stuff that, you know, John Cole lives with us. I let John Cole the other day pin rope on Archie, my good one. And I mean, like, it was rank.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, I want that every time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, that's why I let him do it. And knowing you and having been around you, man, you just stay out of them good ones' way.
Yeah. I don't know what I do or what I don't do, but
well, I mean, you're so good at letting the horse work and using to your advantage him working. And then when you put, you know, I was the same way. A guy asked me the other day, he said, you know, man, don't you wish you had your paint horse back from high school? And I thought all day about that. And I thought, no. Great horse.
Yeah.
At the time was a great horse. You watch some of the early BFIs. You can go to a 9-point now and see those horses.
Yeah. It's crazy how it's evolved with the horsepower and all that stuff.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
Everything.
Yep.
And nothing against those early BFIs.
No.
But it'd be no different than a 1981 horse versus a 1981 computer. Look at where they're at today.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you need to get on and feel it. That was a big changing point in my career. Is I went to work for a place in 2006, and they had a horse had been shown in the reining a little bit, and I'd started a lot of colts, a lot, but I got stuck in that 90-day deal, and I got on that other horse, and you can feel that, and then you kind of know where you're headed. But you have to entertain it, and it's so hard sometimes to get people to entertain it. You know, they get really stuck in the past, and I've had good horses in the past that would have been good horses now, but as a rule, everything evolves and gets better. The trucks, everything's different.
Yep.
But so that was a big turning point there in the horsemanship, and so now I want to talk a little bit about first year going down the road rodeoing.
Yeah.
Because I've never been on the road. Clay's been on the road. I'm more of a homebody, never hit the road traveling, whether it be horse showing, roping, or anything.
Yep.
And I'm sure that's quite an experience.
It was like we'd went to the high school rodeos, college rodeos, weekend, you go home. You go leave Friday, you get home Sunday night, you're home all week. When we leave in June, we're gone till September. There's no coming home to run a couple if your horse starts working bad, or so. That was probably maybe some of the hardest part is you could miss 3 in a row. Mm-hmm. And there's a few places like where we stay now in Utah with Jared Fillmore and his family, where we're in and out of there a lot. And so they have an arena. He's always got steers. So now we've got place where we could rope a little bit, but the first couple times we just stayed fairgrounds, didn't really know where to go in between places if you have a couple days off, and so you might miss a couple and you're just thinking about so it's hard to block all that out when you're young, or when the first couple years, because you want to obviously everybody wants to make the NFR, and you got to have a short memory for all that stuff.
Well, Chance and I talked about, and I think you and I have talked about it a little bit. Doug and I talk all through the summer, and how's it going? And man, we talked before Houston this year.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things for kids, like I grew up without an arena until I was 17. Well, in that I learned that, hey, it's right here. Mm-hmm. I've done this enough. It's going to take care of itself. So if I can keep this level, if I can keep my head level, where a lot of kids that I see nowadays, man, if they didn't have a good roping, they went home and roped it out. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great at that level, and I think everybody needs to. But you also need to learn, when I go out west from June to September, I ain't going to get to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've got to train myself on the pipes, on the head and dummy, on the calf rope dummy, even just riding my horse around. If I need to go out there and lope him around for 2 hours before the rodeo and get the feel that I want, pick that horse's timing up, I think that's something that's so missed because, man, if we don't do any good, let's go home and rope it out. Mm-hmm. And I got 3 practice horses. It doesn't work like that on the road.
No, and sometimes reps won't fix it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes reps fix it. We talked about that on the way down here. And then sometimes reps doesn't fix it. I mean, horse training, that's definitely true. Yep. And it's not the amount of reps, it's the quality of what's going on. So your first partner there going down the road, and who was it again? Did they have a lot of experience?
I think 2019 would have been Corey Clark. And I
think we were both of you.
We were both. We didn't know how to
enter. So you're living the dream.
So we're just out there. I think we started at like Reno.
Started at Reno.
Or we maybe went to, I think maybe you can go like North Platte on the way, and maybe Pleasant Grove. We go to Reno, we catch a couple, make the short round, and we placed maybe 4th, 5th in the average. And I remember thinking like, hey, this is this is it, like this is all this is, And then I don't think we won anything else over the 4th. And I don't remember. I do remember we were maybe one of the fastest teams on 3 at the BFI that year. Mm-hmm. And I slipped a leg on the 4th one, and then didn't make the short round there. And his horse, he had 2 horses out there, and the better horse he had got hurt at the BFI, and so he didn't get to ride it. He sent it home. He didn't get to ride it anymore. And the other horse he had was good, but it wasn't as good as that black he had. And so that was hard. So I don't know. I mean, we might have done the same if he'd had the other horse or not. But if you lose your good horse out there right when you start, it's hard to get back to the rhythm of things. And then we ended up doing good at I think they had the WCRA or something at Salt Lake. Didn't count for the pro rodeos, but we won third maybe at it, and it paid really good. And then we stayed out there, went to we went in Northwest too. I think we'd come home maybe after Ellensburg or something, like come home a little early. And so, but yeah, it was fun. It was nothing I'd ever done.
Yeah.
And just to go see all them places and to rub shoulders with them guys and to see all them guys compete all the time is something you can learn from too. Them guys day in, day out, they don't hardly mess up. And if they do, it's like, you know, they might miss a high callback somewhere at Greeley or Reno or something. You'll see them the next morning, and it's like
big deal.
Nothing ever happened. You know, they got the same mindset that they did the night before, that they know they're good enough and they know how to do their job, and it don't bother them.
And that would be very tough, I would think, making your living swinging a rope. I mean, it's not like there's a backup plan.
Yep. It's got to work, or
Yeah.
you got to figure out something else. But
So that year, how'd you end up that year?
I don't remember.
Didn't make the NFR?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think we were real close. I can't remember if we won enough to be like in the top 50, top 40 something. I don't think we did. Because I don't remember going. Well, then the next year, the 2020 was the COVID deal. And so they didn't really they maybe shut down Houston or something in the middle.
Yep.
But I don't think we were in. We weren't going to get in. And then I don't even remember like if they had Fort Worth or any of that.
Man, I
can't really remember. I don't think they had San Antonio.
Almost from the American on, there was nothing.
Yep. And so, but I don't think we did good enough to even go to any of them. But then that year was kind of weird. The COVID year was weird because we would leave, go someplace, come home. Because they didn't have a lot of the rodeos they did normally.
Yeah, everything was messed up.
And so we were back and forth a lot. So we might be gone a week or two, and then we would come home for a week or two.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a weird year, that year was. That's when I roped with Clint. And we did okay. We did decent. I think maybe that's right, because I roped with Charlie at San Antonio the next spring. So we did good enough. Like we got in San Antonio, all that stuff. So we went to the winter that next winter.
And then 2021 is the first year you made the NFR.
Yep.
So who we with there, and how's that year start?
Roped with Charlie Crawford at San Antonio, Jackson. I can't remember if we went to Fort Worth. Maybe Fort Worth too. I don't think we went to Houston. Maybe me and Coy roped at Houston. Maybe that's about when we started that spring, maybe, or something. Roped with Coy Rallman all spring, all summer. He headed great. I remember we did decent at the beginning. I think maybe placed in a round at San Angelo. Made the short round, pretty good callback. I think I roped a leg. We still win maybe 6,500 or something like that at San Angelo. Left with not a lot, 10, 15,000 won maybe after the winter. Did pretty good at the beginning, I think, and then kind of maybe over the fourth didn't do great. Maybe placed at Cody down there, won just a little bit. And then he got maybe we was at Lawton, and he got a new head horse, the Blue Roan. And when he got that horse, I'm telling you, he did not mess up.
And y'all went on a heater.
And we got on a roll and was just catching a lot. Like wasn't making just the fastest runs, but we placed at all the two headers, placed in the averages at all the three headers, would maybe place bottom of a round here or there, and did good at the one headers. Seemed like about whatever we needed to do. Like if it was fast, he would crank them back and we would make a good run. That horse was easy for him, and he headed so good on that horse. And he heads good on any horse, but that horse was like, we started making good runs and made the tour finale deal and did good at it and made it right there. I think we went in maybe 13th or something like that. So you're right
towards the bottom. All right. And how old are you then?
26.
26 years old.
Yep.
So now you're going to the Thomas and Mack.
Yep.
And it's the first time.
Yep.
So what's the nerves like?
It's like something, I don't know, it's like something I can't really explain. Like you're excited because this is a dream coming true and you're living it. But also, you're roping for life-changing money. 10 nights in a row, the round paid $26,000 a night. And so you're like, hey, I could set up a future right here, if I do decent. And then the opportunities that come with it are there's a lot of there, like sponsor-wise, you get a lot of opportunities there and stuff. And so it's like something, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But it's a mix of nervousness and excitement all balled up into one, and you just can't wait. I mean, it's the September 31st and October 1st, like the season ends, you're for sure in, and that's the only thing you think about.
Yeah.
And it's 2 months away, and you're like, dang, I can't wait to go, and run 10 in that building.
How was that first grand entry?
I don't even remember it.
You didn't get bucked off, did you?
I didn't get bucked off. No.
No, the reason I ask, the year I went out and helped Cooper Martin, one of the coolest things that I've seen in rodeo and stuff was that guy's face when he came. Because in the calf roping, he rode his grand entry horse. I stayed there and picked stalls.
Yep.
And when he rode back from that first grand entry, it was awesome.
Yep.
Like face lit up, even mixed in a
big old sigh of relief, like it's finally
I'm here.
Yep.
You know, it was pretty cool. That's why I ask everybody after their first NFR, what about the grand entry the first time?
Yep. It was because you're sitting back there, and you can hear the announcers and stuff, and then they raise the door, everybody starts taking off, and it's like nothing I'd ever. It was like you said. It was like I can't believe this is actually coming true.
Yep.
Like you dream of that spot, you dream of roping there, and then to actually do it, it's like man, it's like nothing I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And then it's like a drug. I gotta get it. I gotta get back.
Like, hey, you go once, you don't ever want to miss it again.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the first time. And how'd you end up that NFR?
We did decent.
Yeah.
We placed in maybe 4 rounds, one last in the average. So it was for the first time. I mean, we roped. I messed up a couple times. First couple rounds were a little shaky. The first one, steer kind of stepped to me. He did a good job, hit the barrier, headed him. Before the steer turned, I mean, I'm right here. Like, I get in there so early. Like, I don't know. I went black. I blacked out. Like, steer comes by me. I get a leg to maybe place in the round. Second one. So now I'm like, hey, I got to get going. Like, I got to get down the arena. And so I'm watching him. He nods. Steer turns his head. I'm gone. I remember watching him nod. I'm gone. I look down. Steer's got his head turned. I'm in front. I'm at the mouth of the box. Steer's still in the chute. I'm like, and then about the time I get pulled up, Steer straightens his head, takes off. I'm beat again. He turns him. I miss. And I'm like, gosh, dang.
What did you ride there?
I rode Paul's mare.
The Bay.
Yep. Jade.
The real good horse.
Yep. He rode her the year before when that was in Texas. And they won the world that year, and that was a really good horse. I had, and I don't remember. I had the gray that I have now. I rode him all summer, and he was really good. But that horse is a little weird, and it's loud in there. And that horse is a little weird about stuff.
He's a 7th from heaven, isn't he?
Oh,
yeah.
And we talked about it, and he's like, hey, first time, like, he's like, ride this mare. And I'm like, I ran a couple on her, and she felt so good. That was a great horse. And so I rode her all 10 rounds. Had the gray out there for backup, but never got on him. Rode her the whole time.
And then the next year, we rodeoed again.
Yep, me and Coy.
That'd have been 22.
22, yep.
Okay.
Started out, I remember we go to Denver. First one of the year. We go up there, make it back, place in the semifinals, win Denver. And I'm like, hey, this is, we've made it. Like, and I don't know if we won another $1 at the winter stuff. Made a couple good runs at Houston, maybe, but didn't make it back. And then I didn't rope good the next summer. He still had the blue horse. He turned a lot of good ones, and I messed up quite a bit. And so I think we get to the Northwest, and he started roping with Joseph Harrison. Mm-hmm. I roped with Bubba to end out that year. And I think Bubba turned me, I don't know, he turned me 6 or 7 good ones to win good money, and I messed up. I didn't catch. I think I caught one for him by 2 feet, and that was it. So it was kind of a eye-opener, like, hey, this ain't guaranteed. You know, just because you make it one time does not mean nothing. They do not care. And so I think that part was good for me. Just kind of like, hey, this ain't nothing's guaranteed, and you got to keep working at it and try to get better because you're never good enough, really.
Yes.
You know, and so
it's very humbling.
Yes.
Very.
Yep.
And the thing is, you can take it as humbling, or you can take it as, hey, this is something I need to work on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like all the time, try to get better horses.
Yes.
Try to get, you can always get better.
Yes.
It ain't, no one ever, you don't beat rodeo. Mm-mm. Like, you never get, you can always get better, I guess, is what I learned. And them guys never stop working. The guys that make it year in, year out.
Oh, yeah.
Never stop working on anything. Like they're never satisfied with where they're at. And they could rope perfect. But they're like, man, you'll go talk to them and they're like, man, this could have been better. And I'm like, I don't know, it looked pretty good to me. And they're like, no,
Yes.
I mean, you maybe catch 2 feet and they're like, oh, I should have hit the turn a little better. And it could have helped us finish or something. I mean, there's always stuff to work on. And so
the thing I've noticed, the best guys, they criticize themselves on that, but they don't take it past that.
Yeah.
They look at it, they say, okay, man, I maybe could have came through that turn a little better and maybe got up and around him a little better. And that's what they go do the next time.
Yeah.
It's not a snowball by the end of the roping or by the end of the week. It's happened 5 times. It's that mindset that they just, it's crazy. It's crazy how tough-minded just about any rodeo athlete has to be, but especially a roper. I mean,
there's a lot of variables that you can't control.
So many uncontrollable variables.
And so, I mean, like heading, you might score perfect, steer step left, steer step right, makes the barrier just a little longer. You might clip the barrier. And then, I mean, it's bad luck, really.
And 3-6 winning it, and you go 3-4.
Yeah.
But you have to trust that, hey, I seen my start.
Yep.
I did my job. No different than, it's nothing to your comparison, but we're in Arizona. What, a month ago? One day I'm on a heater.
Yeah.
I mean, Mindy, of all people to spin me a steer. Mindy, I come around there, man, I lay it down. I'm like, heck yes. I slip a leg. And I haven't healed that much. But it starts eating at me. I'm like, whoa. Hold up. You've had 10 steers spun for you today, and you've roped all of them by 2 feet.
Yep.
You slip a leg. And I went on and roped every steer the rest of the day by 2 feet.
Yep.
But that one steer, I've seen, I've done it. No, and not in the calf roping, not in the team roping. But I've let that one snowball me for a long time.
Yep.
And it's real easy to say, hey, you got to have good amnesia. You can't think about it. Yep. I don't think it's that. Me personally, I think you have to say, nope, this is what I'm going to do on the next one.
Yep.
And not spot rope, but I'm going to max my horse out. I'm going to, almost like I told you before you rode in there at Houston. Doug sends me videos of this bay he's went and tried and ended up buying him. And man, you got to be aggressive on him, don't you?
Yeah.
Like he's all there. And I said, Doug, can I tell you something? Yeah, sure. I said, hey, when you back in there on that bay, you think, watch this shit. Just to be aggressive. Just because in the videos, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The 2 or 3 videos you sent me. Well, then I think you kind of added to it, or you said you did.
I don't remember.
But you have to have that attitude. There can be no room for negativity and no room for doubt.
Well, I think that's where practice comes in. You have to trust the process.
Yep.
Yes.
Because you're there, you're probably not going to fix anything on your horse right there. You're probably not going to fix anything on you. And you've got to trust the process. So if you're not prepared, I mean, things are going to happen. Steers are going to step right, step left. Stuff's going to happen. But I think that's why it's important that when you practice that you try to get stuff so reactive, in my world anyway, in the ranch horse shows, that I can go out there and just execute. And there's going to be mistakes. A kid's going to jump on the bleachers when you run by.
Yeah.
And the horse might kind of look a little bit, fall out of lead, whatever it might be. But just try to get it as good as you can. And so that's in 2022, and then 2023, 2024 is when your next NFR was this last year?
This past year, yep.
So I want to talk about that. Then I want to go back, and I do want to visit a little bit, because I know you're limited on time, and I want to visit a little bit about your practice and how you practice with a purpose, and that might be. But so 2024, let's walk through that.
So me and Jake started roping. He healed forever. I've known him forever. We are great friends. He's one of my best friends. I think maybe the 2021 year, he helped us enter, because I went rodeoed a couple of years, but I still had no idea. I still don't really know. He does it all. He'll ask me, and I'll be like, yeah, whatever you want to do. Just
That's
do
awesome.
it. Like,
Tell me where to go.
Yep. And I think he helped enter us that year, and so that's when we became pretty good friends, the 2021 year. And he healed for his brother, and he healed for forever. And also he switched ends really good. And so he swapped to heading maybe, I don't remember if it was maybe the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. He was going to head, and I was kind of in between partners. And I called him and I said, hey, do you want to rope? He was roping with another guy. And he was like, yeah. And they went to California, and they did good at like Red Bluff and stuff. And so I was like, he might just stick it out with that guy. And he called me back, and he said, hey, let's do it. And I was like, perfect. Like, because he's the kind of guy that if he's going to do something, he's going to be all in. Like, he's going to do whatever to have a good horse. He wants to win. He likes roping. He likes to practice. They've got 60, 70 horses at their place at all times. They trade a bunch. They rope all the time. And so it's a good fit, because I like to rope. I like to practice. I like to run a bunch. And so we started off good. 2023 we rodeo. We kind of we talked about it before. We said, hey, we'll rope this year, but it's kind of like a 2-year plan.
Okay.
Like, we weren't in none of the winter rodeos. Neither one of us had done decent. We left with pretty much not much won when we started the summer. And so our goal was that we were going to rodeo. If we made the NFR, great. But realistically, we would have to do very good in the summer and the fall and stuff. And so we were like, hey, let's do it. Hopefully we'll win enough to get in all the winter rodeos, and then we'll go all season, the 24 this past year, and then we'll have a good chance, we thought. And we rodeoed 23. We did decent. We won good all summer. Did pretty good in the fall. Jackpot did good. Like, he's got a couple great horses. And then this past year, we started off the winter. We did good at Houston. I think we won second at Houston. We won 20-something thousand at Houston. Won a little bit at San Antonio, won a little bit at Fort Worth. And then we did decent in the summer. And we had quite a bit of money won right there around, and we won Salt Lake, and it paid like 14,000 something, and that put us maybe right at, we had about 100 won, I think. And so that's when the reality started setting in, like, hey, we win just a little bit more than likely we're going to get it done. And so we placed a little bit more here and there, ended up maybe winning almost 130 in the season, and went in, I think maybe he went in 7th, I went in 6th. So it was a good year.
Mm-hmm.
So 130, what did it take the first year you made them?
63.
63.
63.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, you went in. What did it take this year to make them? Do you
I
remember?
think 108 to make the
108.
healing.
108.
And 100 and maybe 105 or something. We figured we figured if we could get to around 110 that we would be fine. We was trying to get to about 125, and we ended up getting maybe 129 or something like that.
That's awesome for rodeo that in 2 or 3 years it went from 60 to 100.
And I think everything is going to continue to climb.
Yep.
And everything in the show world is doing the same thing.
Yep.
I mean, the prize money's really coming up.
And it needs to.
Yeah.
A truck cost 100.
Yes.
I mean,
Yep.
No telling
Horses
how much.
are more expensive.
Very. Yes.
Trailers are more expensive. Everything is. And then all the rodeos seem to pay better. They kind of adjusted the payout a little bit here the past couple of years. And I don't really know what they did, but the rodeos, I think partly the rodeos are adding more money. Like there's been some rodeos that didn't remember going to the first couple of years that now you guy don't miss. They add 10, 15,000 aside, and they're I think all the committees are doing a great job at getting more added money for everybody, and it's making the rodeos better, and it's making everything better.
And so the 2024, you go to the NFR this last year, this December. And so how'd that look for you?
We did decent. Honestly, we didn't do that great. We placed a couple times, made some good runs that didn't win anything. I missed one, maybe he missed two. We didn't place in the average. The team roping was tough.
Boy, it
Like
looked
the steers were amazing. And it was good team roping.
Seeing where it's came in the last 20 years, I don't know what you do the next 20.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. I mean, something will come up.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see where it will go to. I
Yep.
mean, it's crazy.
Yep.
It really is crazy. So there's a lot of people that out there, young and old, that rope. They struggle. Some good, some bad. So what could you tell them? Because I believe a lot of it can be led back to practice and a foundation and fundamentals put on.
Yep.
Not just the horse, but the human.
Yep.
So when you practice, and you can divide it up into how you would practice leading up to the NFR. After September.
Yep.
You can tell me how you would practice for rodeo runs, which you see a longer score most of the time, right? So what's a big mistake in how people practice? And something that you try to do better, obviously. What's the key to practice? What are some key things to look at? We'll go on the head and end and on the heel end.
I think a lot of times, sometimes people practice, and it's almost like they're just roping to rope a little bit. And I'll get caught up in doing the same thing sometimes when you got a bunch of horses standing there tied up. You're trying to get through them. Maybe it's starting to get dark or something, and you just run some to run some. And I don't think that works at all. Like every run you need to, because I'll catch myself sometimes slower steers. I'll be swinging slow, and if you do that enough, it's going to become a habit. And so every run, every time you back in the box, you need to be, and I think it's a mental thing too, like being mentally strong. To be able to run 60, 70 a day and back in there and pay attention on every one. And I think most of the time when we practice, like we're not even thinking about it, but we're practicing the mental side too. Because to back in there and run 60, 70, 8 or 20, or if you just run 10, to have that mindset to where like, hey, I got to be paying attention every time. It helps you be mentally strong too. Well,
I know from a human standpoint, what I deal with clients and people in my world, show world, they like to get the pattern the week before, and they go practice the pattern.
Yep.
They go to the show, and the horse knows the pattern, and it gets ahead of them, and they do terrible.
Yep.
Okay, versus practicing parts of the pattern or doing it backwards. Now, in the roping world, I would look at it as if, say, someone said, I'm just going to go practice 5-second runs. And from a lot of human standpoints, I feel like someone would go out there and says, hey, we're practicing 5-second runs today. talk about that a little bit. Is that how you do it to get ready for a rodeo where you need to be fast, or what are you trying to do so that you can be fast, or are you practicing 5-second runs?
So we'll do both. Like when Jake comes over, most of the time when I'm here through the week, I go slow a lot.
Okay.
Because it seems like you go to the rodeo or the roping, you speed your horse up, you make fast runs, you come home and you work on your horse a lot, slowing them down and stuff. And it's kind of like a back and forth deal. So Jake will come, he'll bring 3 or 4 head horses. I'll have a bunch of horses usually. I'll get on my better horses, and we might make, one day I might run 4 or 5 slow ones on that bay or something, and just make sure he's backed off, reading the turn, letting me hold him if I need to, like not pulling through me or not dragging me in early. And so we do a little bit of everything. Before we go to like Houston or Fort Worth or something, I would say we'll make a couple real runs where we're like, hey, we got to be, we're the 8th team out. 5-5 is winning last.
Okay.
We need to be 5 flat, and he'll see a real start, and we'll make a real run. And just to make sure everything feels right. Your horse feels good and all that. And if you can do it here at home, you can do it anywhere. And so I always try to keep some pretty realistic steers. Like I got a bunch of slower ones for the colts and for, but I'll always have 4 or 5 stronger steers like we would rope, like we would compete on somewhere. So really it's just, we do a little bit of everything, kind of day in, day out.
You mix it up. And,
Yep.
And because I have seen it a lot where, people less experienced, they go out and they practice fast runs, and that's how they judge their practice.
Yep.
How successful they were.
Yep.
So in the show world, we run into a lot where we have to school horses. So say we got them trained at home, now we start showing them.
Yep.
And they do pretty good for a while. And then they're not. They get to where they need schooled away from home, because you can go back home and they're good.
Yeah.
So how would you go about doing that? I mean, obviously, if you went to a jackpot, you have money up. But if you went to a practice roping, maybe you could trick them a little more. So how would you go about handling that?
Because so you can go to like a smaller open somewhere, and you could work on them a little bit. Like a lot of times, head horses want to get quick, and so you could go to the roping, or you could enter a small rodeo somewhere, and maybe you're not even trying to win first, really. Like you're like, hey, I want to put up this $100 and some bucks, and I want to make my horse run to the cow, or like I'm on a rope, hold up,
and stay in
or
there.
do something, So sometimes you can do that. A lot of times, like I don't think they really have any. Like you can go to other places and try to recreate, like put a barrier up or do something, and have the radio on or do something. And so there's places like that you can go where it's like practicing, but there's noise and there might be a barrier up and stuff. So you can do that a little bit.
Yeah. It's so tough because, you got to do it at home. You got to recreate it away from home. Then you have to keep them working away from home. And I can't imagine going up and down the road. I mean, I guess it would take a lot out of them hauling them all over the place, in that trailer.
Most time it helps when they get tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's why they're so expensive. A good one that's proven at it.
And
So, excuse me. So, it's a little after 2. I know you've got a roping to be to at 2:30. You need to get out of here. So we'll finish it up with a few things. So what's your favorite? Obviously, your favorite place to rope probably is NFR.
Yeah. Yep.
No doubt about it.
Yep. No doubt about that.
Okay.
One.
What's the most memorable win that you've ever had? Best moment? It could be early on, later on. What was it, and where was it?
I think it might have been this year at Salt Lake. Because then after Salt Lake, we were like, hey, I think we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were doing decent, and we were always, like we never fell outside of the top 15 really all summer. Like we went up and down a little bit. But I don't even remember if we were maybe somewhere around the top 10. And after that one, I remember walking up to Jake afterward, and he's like, hey, like he's dead serious. And he always jokes around, and he's like, hey. He's like, I think we just did it. And I'm like, and we'd never talked about it before that. Like, I'm sure we were both thinking it. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we might actually do this. You know what I mean? And so, and I remember, and he was like, I'll never forget it. He was dead serious. And he's like, hey, I think we're going to do it. And I'm like, I don't know, but I think so too, you know? And so that was pretty cool because this year was his first time. He had healed forever. And I know he'd gotten close, but never quite got over the hump to get it done. And to see him this year, to finally get it done, because he's rodeoed for, I think he started in 2012 or 2013. So he rodeoed like 12 years or something like that. And to see him get to go and get it done was something pretty special.
So you got a 16-year-old wants to live the dream and rope at the NFR someday right now, and they rope all the time right now. What's the best advice you could give them to help them get towards that? And it could be related to roping, not related to roping, whatever it might be. What do you tell them?
I usually tell people, like, get around the best guys you can. You know, you can learn something from everybody. It doesn't mean it might be best for you, but you can learn something from anybody you're around. And so I always tell people to get around the best guys they can, even if you're cleaning stalls, or just to be around them and kind of get your foot in the door. And then there's no telling where it goes from there. I mean, just get around the best guys. You might like some stuff they do, you might not. Take what you like, do that, and just try to get around as good of people as you can, and just do that.
High tide raises all boats.
Yep.
Yeah, and I told him on the way down here, I said, I love coming down and being around a lot of this. And my wife would move down here if I'd let her.
Yeah.
But I like mountains, and I have not seen a mountain.
There's not many mountains around
here yet. But I don't like the cold, and I'm surprised it's this cool down here. I was expecting to come down and it be a little warmer. What buckle you wear?
I wear the one, the first year in 21, we won the 6th round. And so that's the one I wear.
That's the one you wear.
Yep. I told Tori, I said, I'm not taking it off till I get another one. So
That's right.
Well, Doug, I appreciate you letting us come down and sit here and have an interview. I sure enjoyed it, and I'm glad I could come down here and tag along with him. We're making a circle down here.
Yep.
But I've enjoyed talking to you, and I hope some people can find some value in it. And is there anywhere they can find you on social media or anything? You on any social media or anything like that?
I've got Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
That's about it.
That's about it.
I don't really. Tori does all my social media.
That's awesome.
So I don't really. I get on there and look at stuff, but I don't post. She posts everything on there, all the runs and stuff. So
I'd love to get him up to our place sometime or somewhere there close and have a clinic.
Yeah, that would be great.
You know, one thing, and I've had great help, but one of the biggest things Doug helped me with, and it was day one, first day we ever met, and I got to throw this in here because I tell everybody, but man, I was riding all of Tyler Worley's horses that day. And Nelson Wyatt was heading. Doug was heading on Pete, his dad's horse, with no bridle. And amateur, maybe even novice, not even amateur healer. And I'm riding Tyler's NFR horse. And I'm like, guys, I don't understand it. I watched the neck rope come off a calf, and I can see that. And stuff smooth and level, and I'm like, the head rope goes on, and Nelson, he's back there.
Yeah, you can't even see him.
You just hear the rope come past you, snap, and then the steer turns. And I mean, like a great handle. But the head rope goes on, and my mind goes blowed up. And if I see anything, boy, it's put to the wood. And so I was asking them. Both of you know me. I ask a lot of questions. And Doug, I asked, I think it was you, Tyler, and TG there that day. And I'm like, do I watch the head rope go on? Yes. And I could see mixed emotions. And so Doug, as we're walking back, he said, hey, let's try this. Since you can watch the neck rope come off of a calf, watch the head rope go on. Then watch the head turn, then watch the shoulders turn. Then when the hips go, you go. But not until then. I went 3 days and maybe roped a leg riding 4 or 5 heel horses a day. Now, don't get me wrong. I had Doug, Tyler, Wade Smith, Nelson heading for me, getting great handles. But I could see that every time.
Yeah, he slowed it down and made it simple.
Slowed it down and made it simple.
Because you can get ahead of yourself. Like, and I'll do it sometimes too. Like, Jake will come over, and I'll be like, hey, if you're going to make the turn long, I'm like, that's perfect. Don't tell me. Like, I don't want to know. Like, sometimes if his head horse is getting a little quick, he'll rope, he'll stick it on the horn, the steer's head will turn, but then he'll bounce him down the arena 3 or 4 strides before he actually turns him. And I'm like, that's perfect. Do it. If your horse needs it, do it. But don't tell me, because I need to be paying attention. Just because the head rope goes on doesn't mean the steer's going to turn. Like, they could miss their dally. They could maybe have to pick up, and then their horse picks up too much, and then they might go a couple more strides. And so that's what I try to do is just because the head turns doesn't necessarily mean the steer was turning. But now if the shoulders go and like the hit, then more than likely the steer is going to turn, and you can start in.
And it causes you to focus.
Yeah.
More precise.
Yep.
And it takes it was one of those for me that showed me the insight. You know, you look at Paul and Jade and you and Tyler and TG, and man, you all make it look so easy. Well, it was never going to get easy for me because my head was like going down the pin. Man, that steer was just doing this. And then he, as soon as his head turned, mock chicken across the tail. And he wasn't. He never changed speed. It was in my head that slow down and just stay with him.
Well, I think that's part of good coaching is be able to make it digestible.
Yes.
And that's coaching to a human, and then, of course, coaching it to a horse, too, which is training. You have to make it digestible where they can understand it and give them time to process it.
Well, we bought Reggie from you.
Yeah.
Had my head blown up like that on Reggie, he'd have blowed up.
Yeah.
We'd have run over the steer probably. But when any time at home after that, and another Sevens from Heaven, wasn't he?
Yep.
A lot of horse.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a mare of the Sevens from Heaven.
And it was crazy when I kept my mind slow like that. Reggie stayed right in position the whole time.
Yep.
But if I showed up that day, mine scrambled when the head rope went on. And another thing that it helped Trevor a bunch. The kid that lives with us, and it made his heading when I said, hey, bud, here's what I have to see. It can't head rope go on, hips go. I said, I have to see every time head turn, shoulders turn, hips go, I go.
Yep.
He skint their butt at the amateur rodeos. He'd do it a coil away, 2 coils away, and like steers were ropeable right now.
It just makes the flow of the run. It's almost same thing with like calf roping. You slow down a little bit and you'll be faster. Like if a header takes just a second right there and sets the steer up to where it's easy for the heeler to read, the heeler can just tee off on him, and it makes that you might go 2 strides farther than somebody else and be maybe a tenth or 2 faster.
I guess it'd be like getting out in the stirrup or stepping back on your horse versus running off your horse on the calf roping.
And those runs feel like Trevor and I've done it, but I've never tied a calf in 7 that I went, man, I was just 7. I always thought I was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And same way in your team roping runs. Trevor and I went 4-4, 4-6 at a family rodeo, and we just made our practice pin run. He was a coil back. Man, I just hung back, waited. When the hips went, I went. Well, guess what? The second hop, he's roped.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sitting down here with us. I'm gonna let you go. I don't want to make you late. I don't want to make anybody late to a roping.
Oh, it's all right. I usually run too early anyway.
Well, you're a roper.
Exactly.
No, a team roper.
Yeah. And but man, I sure do appreciate it. It's been fun, and I wish you luck in the upcoming year. And I hope you all the success. And Clay, thanks for sitting in with us and introducing us. And we'll talk to you guys later.